Well, hey there, listeners. Kath Langman here, and welcome to the Brand Marketing Show. I am recording this episode in early February, and of course, February it's not only the shortest calendar month, but it's also typically the slowest sales month for e-commerce. I think off the back of Q4 when everyone is generally spending up big, and even in January, that can be quite a big month for many. February is a little bit of a breather in terms of consumer spending, I think. But because it's often the slowest sales month, it's often the month that I see a lot of business owners make some fear-based snap decisions, as reactionary decisions to that situation that end up hurting them long term. Now, before we kind of dive into all of that, I wanted to start off with a wee little confession of my own behavior. So, several years ago, I bought a course that promised to teach me the exact funnel that had generated seven figures for someone else's business. And the sales page was really compelling, the testimonials were really glowing, and the promise was just so irresistible. Build this funnel, the course said, and you'll make money while you sleep, passive income, automated sales. Set it up once and watch the revenue roll in. And of course, I wasn't alone in buying that promise. It felt like the entire online marketing industry has been selling some version of it for the last decade. And, it's along the lines of find your winning ad and scale it, build a welcome sequence once and profit forever, create the perfect landing page and never touch it again. The seven-figure funnel, the six-figure launch formula, the automated evergreen machine. And the promise was always the same. There's this one thing that you can build that will solve all of your marketing forever, a silver bullet. And it's a lie. Not because those gurus were necessarily scammers. Some of those funnels genuinely did work for a short while for that person in that market at that time. And so the lie is the idea that you can build something once and walk away. That, the marketing is a problem that you solve rather than a system that you maintain, and that there's a shortcut that means you never have to do the ongoing work. I mean, the reality is, I think the only thing that you can really generate true passive income from would be investments like shares or managed funds, that sort of thing. So today, I want to talk about why the silver bullet doesn't exist, why we keep searching for it anyway, and what actually works instead. Because I think this belief, this hope that there's a thing that you can build once and profit from forever is one of the most damaging ideas, not just in e-commerce, but in business generally, certainly in online business and digital marketing. And it's causing brands to underinvest in things like maintenance. It seems boring, right? Or even in things like the not so trackable brand building efforts. And it's causing business owners to blame themselves when things like templates just don't work. And it's creating a cycle of boom and bust that's exhausting and completely unnecessary. So let's get into it. And first, let's talk about where this idea came from and why it's so seductive. I think the rise of online marketing in the 2010s created an entire industry of people just selling dreams. This exact funnel made me seven figures. All you have to do is plug and play. This ad template generated $1 million. This email sequence has a 40% conversion rate. Templates, blueprints, plug and play systems that you just have to copy and paste. I mean, the message was really clear. Someone else has already figured this out. You don't need to do the hard work of understanding your own business and customers. You just need to copy what worked for the other person. And honestly, I get why we all fell for it, because running a product business can be exhausting. You're already juggling things like manufacturing, inventory, shipping, customer service, finances, suppliers, staff. I mean, marketing can feel like this mysterious thing that other people understand, some kind of dark art that requires skills that you don't have. The idea that you could just install someone else's solution and move on, I mean, it's intoxicating. It's very appealing. buy the course, copy the template, set up the funnel, tick marketing off your list, and get back to the parts of the business that you actually enjoy. We want there to be a silver bullet because the alternative is ongoing work forever. And that's not what anyone wants to hear. But here's the uncomfortable truth. There is no funnel you build once and profit from forever. There is no ad that you create that works indefinitely. There is no website that you launch that stays optimized without attention, and there is no automation that runs perfectly without maintenance. Much like trying to get yourself a six-pack, abs marketing is not a problem that you solve once. It's a system that you maintain. We have to do the work. I was reminded of some infomercials that would run in years gone by. Of course, I don't know that anybody, does anybody even watch that kind of TV anymore now that everything's, pay TV and streaming channels? Anyway, there was this phrase, set it and forget it, to in regards to a rotisserie oven. You put your chicken in, you set the timer, you walk away, you come back to perfectly cooked meals. I mean, it's great advice for making dinner whilst you're busy doing something else, but it's terrible advice for growing a business. Your marketing is not a slow cooker. You can't set it and forget it. And the sooner that we accept that, the sooner we can start building something that actually works. So this build once, profit forever thinking, I think it can infect every part of marketing. And let me show you what it looks like in practice. In regards to email automation, build this welcome sequence once and make money while you sleep. So you set up your flows in 2021, welcome sequence, abandoned cart, post-purchase follow-up. Maybe you used a template, maybe you hired someone to build them. Either way, they were done and you moved on. But now it's 2026. Have you looked at those flows recently? They're probably still referencing old products that may not even be showing up. There could be broken links, old offers, old prices. Your welcome email might be promising things that are no longer true. Your post-purchase sequence might be recommending products that you don't sell anymore. The tone might not match who your brand has become. Those flows were built for a different version of your business, but they're still running, still sending, and still shaping how customers might experience your brand, and just maybe not in the way that you intended. I've seen welcome emails that still promise free shipping on orders over $50 when the threshold changed to $100 2 years ago. And I've seen post-purchase sequences recommending products that were discontinued. I've seen abandoned cart emails offering discount codes that expired 3 years ago. And I've seen so many other broken things in email automation systems simply because the technology platforms have changed and those integrations needed to be updated. I mean, these aren't just minor issues. They erode trust, they make your brand look careless, and they can create confusion at exactly the moment you're trying to build a relationship. What about your website? This whole notion, invest in a great website and the sales will come. So maybe you invested and hired a designer, or you purchased a really beautiful looking template and did it yourself. You launched something really beautiful, you felt really proud, and that was 3 years ago. And what's changed since then? Maybe you've swapped out some hero images, maybe you've added some new products, but the core of the website, all of the copy, the structure, the user experience is just frozen in time. Product pages still have descriptions copied from supplier sheets, perhaps. Maybe the about page still tells a story that you were telling 3 years ago. Testimonials from 2022. Maybe the homepage is still showing last year's campaign. I mean, there's so many things that have probably evolved. Your brand would have evolved, your products would have evolved, your customers' expectations would have evolved, but your website is stuck in the past. And here's what makes this worse. You might not even notice. You see your website every day, so the gradual shift from fresh to dated just happens so slowly that you don't register it, but your customers notice, especially new customers who are seeing it for the first time and comparing it, consciously or not, to other websites that they may have visited recently. And let's take your advertising, this notion that you can find your winning ad and scale it. The winning ad, the holy grail. Find the creative that converts, pump loads of budget into it, and watch the money multiply. Except it doesn't work like that anymore. I mean, maybe it never really did. I mean, I think it felt like it did for a while back in maybe 2017, but I see brands running the same creative approach that they were using years ago and then wondering why their return on ad spend keeps declining. But it worked before. Yes, it did. Before the algorithm changed, before audiences got fatigued, before your competitors copied the same approach, before the market shifted. There's no one ad that wins forever. There's only ads that work for now until they don't. And the timeline is getting shorter. I mean, ad fatigue seems to happen faster than it used to in many instances. Creative that worked for 6 months a few years ago might only work for 6 weeks now. And audiences have seen so much advertising that they just tune out faster. So the bar keeps rising. What about things like funnels and templates? This exact funnel made 7 figures. So you bought the template, you plugged in your product, you set up the tripwire, the upsell, the downsell, the email sequence, the whole machine, and it didn't work. Or it worked for a while and then it stopped. Or maybe it never quite performed the way that the sales page promised. Because that funnel was built for someone else's business, someone else's audience, someone else's market, and someone else's moment in time. The structure might be sound, but without customization, without ongoing refinement, without adapting to your reality, it's just a template, maybe gathering some digital dust. And so all of these examples share the same underlying belief that there's a thing that you can build or buy or install that will keep working without ongoing attention. And that belief is the problem. Now, let me tell you about a pattern that I see constantly, and I'm going to keep this anonymous, but you might recognize yourself or you might know someone, who does this in their own business. There's a brand that's been relying on Facebook ad and Instagram ads as their only source of traffic for years. The ads were their main growth channel, pretty much their only growth channel, and for a while it worked absolutely brilliantly. Meanwhile, the email flows were set up 5 years ago and never meaningfully updated. The website has been pretty much the same for years. No significant investment at all in ongoing content. No real attention to the post-purchase experience, if I can get my words out. Just ads driving traffic and generating sales. Now the ad results are declining. We're in 2026 now. Every month, a little worse than the month before, and the cost to acquire a customer keeps climbing. And so the return on ad spend keeps shrinking. And the response? Frustration. Why isn't this working anymore? The expectation that the ads should perform the way they did in 2021, and the hope that a new creative or a new campaign strategy will fix it. They've tried updated creatives, new campaign structures, different audiences, better targeting, but the results overall keep declining. Why? Because the ads aren't the problem. Everything that the ads point to is the problem. Paid media doesn't work in isolation. Ads drive traffic, but then what? The landing page, if it hasn't been touched in 3 years, the email flow feels stale and generic, the post-purchase experience is on autopilot, there's no organic content building brand awareness and no engagement. It's like pouring water into that leaky bucket and complaining that you can't fill it. The ads are working, they're getting people to the site, but the site isn't converting. The emails aren't particularly engaging and the whole ecosystem has become neglected. And so this is one of the most common patterns that I see, the belief that I just need more traffic. If I just get more people to the website, I will make more sales. But, if your conversion rate is declining over time because everything else is stale, then more traffic just means more people having a mediocre experience. And so your cost to acquire customers goes up, your margins shrink, you end up working harder for less. So here's the harsh truth. Paid media amplifies what you already have. If your ecosystem is working, you have a great website, compelling emails, strong retention, good organic presence, ads pour fuel on the fire. They accelerate growth and they scale what's already working. But if your ecosystem is neglected, Ads just are going to expose the cracks faster and more expensively. You're paying to show people a mediocre experience and you're paying to fill a leaky bucket. You just can't out-advertise a neglected ecosystem. So this is one of the hardest truths in marketing because ads feel like the solution. They're measurable, they're scalable, you can see the direct relationship between spending and results, at least in the beginning. But ads are just the front door. They get people to your brand. And what happens after that, the website, the emails, the experience, the retention, that's what's going to determine whether those people do become customers and whether those customers come back. Too many brands invest so heavily in getting people through the front door while letting the rest of the house fall apart. And then they wonder why nobody's staying. Let me explain something about how advertising algorithms actually work because it's directly relevant to this silver bullet problem. So let's take the meta algorithm, so Facebook and Instagram ads. This algorithm and all the digital ad algorithms, they work like this too. It needs signal to know who to show your ads to. It's looking for patterns. Who's already engaging with your brand? Who's visiting your website? Who's opening your emails? Who's buying from you? That signal comes from everywhere. Organic content, people who are engaging with that organic content, website behavior, email engagement, existing customer data, people who are chatting in the internet sphere about your brand. These algorithms, they use all of these signals to find people who look like the people already interested in you. So when you first start advertising, the algorithm finds the easy wins, the low-hanging fruit, the people who already know you a little bit, the people who've engaged with your content, the people who look very similar to your existing customers. And these people generally convert well because they're already warm, or at least lukewarm. So your early results typically look great. The return on ad spend starts out strong. You think you've found your winning formula, and so you want to scale. But here's what happens over time. Those easy wins, they get tapped out. The algorithm has shown your ads to everyone who was already predisposed to buy, and now it has to go broader and colder. And so it starts reaching people who have never heard of you, never engaged with anything that you've created. They have no existing relationship with your brand. And in fact, even more than that, they're probably not even problem aware. If you think about people, us humans and our purchase decision-making behavior, it's like generally you're going to be problem aware and then you're going to become solution aware before you make a decision. But if you're not even problem aware because you're that cold in the audience, then trying to get people to actually engage and take action with your ad content is really, really hard. These people are harder to convert. They need more convincing. They're going to be more expensive to acquire. And so you see your results start to decline. And this is where the death spiral begins. If you're not feeding the algorithm fresh signal through things like organic content, email engagement, website activity, new customer interactions, and more, it has nothing new to work with. And so it's going to keep going colder and colder. Your ad costs will keep going up and your results will keep going down. And so here's the critical part. Throwing more budget at this will not help. You're not solving the problem by just spending more or making tweaks in your ad account. You are just going to be continuing the decline. You will be paying more to reach colder audiences who will be even harder to convert. The brands that maintain strong ad performance over time, they're not just good at advertising. They are investing in things like organic content that creates engagement. They're building email lists that are genuinely engaged, not just collected. They're updating their website regularly. They're creating reasons for people to interact with their brand beyond just the ads. Their ecosystem feeds the algorithm signal, and that signal makes the ads work better. The ads grow the ecosystem feeds more signal, and it becomes a virtuous cycle. But it only works if you maintain all of it. The moment you stop, the moment you set and forget any part of it, the cycle starts to break down. And this is why brands that seem to have cracked paid advertising aren't just good at ads. They're good at everything the ads connect to. Their organic content keeps audience is engaged. Their email list is active and responsive. Their website converts well. Their customer experience drives word of mouth. The ads are just one part of a healthy ecosystem, and if you take away the rest, and the ads stop working too. Now, I want to quickly explain why nothing in marketing stays effective forever. And there are 4 forces that will constantly be working against you. And I think understanding them helps explain why set and forget is impossible. And the first force is platforms changing. The platform that you built your marketing on isn't the same platform anymore. I mean, Meta changes its algorithm constantly. So, of course, what worked in 2021 isn't, might not actively hurt you now, but it might, because iOS privacy changes transformed how tracking and targeting work. Cookie deprecation is changing what data you can collect. Email providers are getting smarter about filtering and deliverability. Policy changes mean that what was compliant 3 years ago might trigger issues now. New features reward different behaviors, and so the rules keep changing, and if you're not adapting, you're going to be falling behind. Force 2 is that audiences change. So your customers just aren't the same as they were a few years ago. I mean, what felt fresh in 2021 is going to be stale now. Expectations have shifted. People have seen every template, every trick, every formula. They're way more ad fatigued. They're more savvy with the content they're seeing online, and they are harder to impress. And that's not even taking into consideration things about the economy and consumers' ability to spend right now or any of that stuff. That welcome sequence that felt personal and warm 3 years ago, it probably now feels like every other welcome sequence. What about that landing page that converted really brilliantly for a while there? It probably looks a bit dated now with the design. The messaging that might have resonated, it's probably background noise now. Force 3 would be your business changing, because you won't be the same business that you were when you set that marketing up. You would have launched new products. You would have discontinued old ones. Maybe your positioning has evolved. Maybe your brand voice has matured. Probably your ideal customer is different than when you started. But your automations might still be talking about a version of your business that no longer exists. Your business might be telling a story that you've outgrown, or your ads might be attracting customers who just aren't right for who you've become. And then force 4 is that competitors copy. Whatever worked for you, others noticed. Your successful ad approach will get copied. Your emails strategy, if it looks like it's doing really well, it will be imitated. Your messaging gets borrowed. The differentiation that made your marketing effective erodes as competitors adopt the same tactics. It is, this imitation and copycat behavior is as old as time, and it will continue to happen. So what was maybe a best practice becomes standard practice. What was novel becomes kind of noise. The thing that made you stand out, can now be what makes you blend in. And so all 4 of these forces are going to be happening and working all at once constantly. Platforms shifting, audiences evolving, your business changing, your competitors copying. So if your marketing isn't staying still, it is actively decaying. Now, not maintaining it isn't neutral. What I'm saying here is if you don't maintain this marketing ecosystem, it means you will be going backwards. You won't be just cruising. Think of it a little bit like a house. A house that's lived in and maintained stays in really good shape versus a house that's abandoned is going to fall apart surprisingly quickly. The paint might peel, the roofs will leak, the gardens become very overgrown, and the decay accelerates. And your marketing's the same. Maintained, it stays effective. Neglected, it doesn't just stay flat, it actively deteriorates. And the longer that you leave it, the more work it will take to bring it back. And this brings me to something that I see a lot. Brands trying to shortcut the work by using these proven templates and formulas. And of course, I understand the appeal. I've fallen for it in the past as I started out in sharing in this episode. Someone claims their funnel generated millions of dollars, so you buy the template, you plug in your product, and you expect results. but that template was proven for someone else's business, someone else's audience, someone else's products, someone else's price point, someone else's market at a specific moment in time. It could be what worked in the US might not work in Australia. What worked for a $20 product, it will definitely not work the same way for a $200 or a $2,000 product. Certainly what worked in 2022 might not work now. But also, you think about the template trap that goes like this: buy a proven funnel template, install it without customizing for your specific situation, wonder why it doesn't convert, blame yourself, I must be doing something wrong, or blame the template, this doesn't work. Neither is quite right. The problem is the belief that copying could ever be enough. Cookie cutter approaches share the same fundamental flaw. They assume that your business is the same as everyone else's. They assume the market is static. They assume you can install something and just walk away. Even if a template or a formula genuinely worked for you 3 years ago, it still needs to evolve. Those four forces of decay are constantly at work, and what worked then isn't wrong, it's just outdated. There's nothing wrong necessarily with using templates as a starting point. Sometimes, we all suffer from a bit of writer's block, so if that's the case for you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with learning from what's worked for others, but the problem is treating those things as finished solutions rather than just raw materials or inspiration that needs shaping and ongoing refinement. So a template should save you from starting with that blank page, but it shouldn't save you from thinking, and it shouldn't save you from customizing, and it definitely shouldn't save you from maintaining and evolving what you build. The value of a template is maybe 20% of the work. The other 80% is making it yours, making it work for your specific situation, and keeping it working over time. So if you skip that 80%, you're not saving time, you're wasting the template. So if the silver bullet doesn't exist, what is the alternative and what actually works? And I think the shift is from thinking about marketing as construction to thinking about it as cultivation. Construction mindset is build the funnel, build the website, build the flows, done is the goal, check the box, move on, and don't think about it again. Whereas cultivation mindset is thinking about marketing like a garden. It needs tending, pruning, feeding, replanting. It's never done. It's always growing and evolving. In the construction model, you're looking for the thing that works forever, whereas in the cultivation model, you're building systems that you maintain over time. You expect things to need updating, and you schedule those reviews, not just the product launches. Now, you might be thinking, hey, Kath, this sounds like more work, not less. But actually, I'd argue it's just different work. And in the long run, it's going to be less painful because the silver bullet approach creates a specific kind of suffering. You build something, you neglect it, you watch it slowly decline, you get frustrated, you panic, you try to find another silver bullet to fix it, you build something new, you neglect that, and then the cycle repeats. So it's like boom and bust. Bursts of intense effort followed by long stretches of neglect, followed by complete desperate overhauls. Versus the cultivation approach, which is so much steadier, regular small updates instead of occasional massive rebuilds, consistent attention instead of cycles of neglect and panic. It's way less dramatic, but it's so much more sustainable. The brands that win long term, they're not the ones who found the perfect funnel. They're the ones who treat their marketing as a living system, who review, who refresh and evolve, and who understand that working is always temporary and maintaining is kind of permanent. And I know this might sound exhausting. You mean I have to keep working on this forever? Yeah, but so does every other part of your business. You don't set and forget your products, you don't set and forget your customer service, you don't set and forget your finances, and marketing's the same. It's an ongoing function of a healthy business, not a project with an end date. The difference is, of course, whether you accept that reality and build systems for it, or if you fight against it and suffer the consequences. Now, let me get practical for a sec. What does this cultivation mindset look like in reality? And what does marketing maintenance actually involve? Pretty simple, really. Scheduled review cycles. I think the single most important thing is putting reviews in your calendar, not I should look at that sometime, but actually schedule time to evaluate what's running. Could be quarterly reviewing your major email flows, looking at your top performing product pages, evaluating your ad creative themes and messaging, checking your homepage and your key landing pages. Once or twice a year, doing a much deeper dive, full flow audits, website content reviews, customer journey mapping, definitely. Really doing a deep dive into your analytics to see what's working and what's not. Annually, like really step back and review things like your brand voice and your checking your messaging and really making sure that you haven't left any kind of automations just running without casting an eye over it. Reviewing things like your tech stack or resetting strategies if need be. I don't think that the frequency matters quite so much as the consistency. So you want to pick with a rhythm that you can stick to and stick to it like glue. And as you grow, it'll become more frequent. But put it in your calendar, make it non-negotiable and treat it like you would treat a financial review or a stock take. It shouldn't be optional maintenance. It should be essential business hygiene. And don't try to do everything at once. I mean, pick an area maybe to focus on per quarter. And then you can rotate through your ecosystem across a whole year so that everything is getting attention. And then maybe start a kill list because not everything deserves to be maintained. Some things should just be killed off. Like it could be an email flow that you set up 5 years ago that is technically still running, but not doing anything for your business. Like kill it. Better to have fewer things working well than many, many things limping along. If something hasn't been touched in years and it's not performing, it's probably doing more harm than good. So just delete it or, turn it off, which might feel a little bit scary, particularly if you have invested time and money in these things. And, deleting things can make them feel like a waste, but keeping broken things running is a real waste because that's going to be cluttering up your marketing ecosystem and it's potentially confusing your customers and making your marketing harder for them to understand and for you to manage. So sometimes maintenance is subtraction, not addition. Definitely from time to time, you want to audit for conflicts because systems and platforms that, systems build at different times. They don't always talk to each other indefinitely, but certainly platforms change and have, big technology upgrades. And if you have platforms integrated, then those integrations can drop out. And also, think about things like your Klaviyo flows and the triggers. Sometimes the triggers are updated, but sometimes the functionality in these systems changes and the customers or the subscribers are receiving conflicting messages. So, make sure that you do review your systems from time to time. And then you want to make sure that you are matching your systems to your business. Every time you launch a new product, for example, you want to be updating your flows. If you change your brand positioning in the marketplace, you want to review your website. If you shift your ideal customer after perhaps doing an annual survey and customer journey mapping exercise, you want to be checking what you're communicating in your ads and all of your other marketing. Your marketing needs to reflect who you are now, not who you were when you set it all up. Finally, I want to emphasize something that connects everything that we've talked about so far, and that is that marketing isn't a collection of separate channels. It really is an ecosystem. It's not, I just need better ads, or I need a better website, or I need better emails. It's all of these things working together and maintained together. Each piece feeds into others. Organic content creates engagement, which signals the algorithm, which makes the ads perform better, etc., etc. We want to be capturing our audience's attention and starting to build a relationship with that audience, nurturing and building trust and, encouraging the prospects to take the step of purchasing and then ideally coming back. It becomes this iterative system, not separate things, but really connected things. So of course, when one piece decays, it does affect everything. And so this is the thing that we really, really need to accept and have a bit of a mindset shift. It's the question to ask yourself is not, is this working? It should be, is this working with everything else? And, not when did I build this, but when did I last check this and things like that. If you can't remember when you last reviewed something, that's probably your answer. It's overdue. Now, if you're listening to this and realizing that your marketing has been maybe running on autopilot, or if you've been lurching from one kind of silver bullet approach to another, or if your results have been quietly declining and you're really not sure why, but you've been hoping to find the one next thing that will fix it all, it probably is time for a proper look at your ecosystem. And to that end, I would love to invite you to book a brand growth strategy session in with me, and we'll be able to do, a mini audit of what you've got happening, not just one channel, but how it's all working together to try and pinpoint what's decaying, what's conflicting, or what's missing, and map out what maybe maintenance mode actually looks like, and certainly what growth mode would look like for your business. And we'll just be really honest about what needs attention, what might need to be killed, and what might be missing. We definitely will not be promising any kind of silver bullet. We're not going to sell you a template that you plug and play, and we won't be telling you to build just one more thing and walk away. We are absolutely focused on creating a ecosystem that is designed for each unique brand. But for today's episode, let me leave you just with this final thought, or this summarized thought. The silver bullet doesn't exist. Set and forget was always a lie. Your marketing is either being maintained or it's decaying. There is no standing still, and you can't out advertise a neglected marketing ecosystem. You can't template your way to sustainable growth, and you can't just buy a course that solves marketing forever. The brands that win aren't the ones who found the perfect formula. They're the ones who show up consistently, who review and refresh, who treat their marketing like a garden that needs tending, not a building that might be finished. And here's the thing, it isn't bad news. It's actually liberating, because if there is no silver bullet, you can stop searching for one, and you can stop buying courses that promise the secret. You can stop beating yourself up when the template doesn't work, and you can stop chasing the fantasy of passive marketing that might take care of itself. And you can start doing the real work, showing up, evolving, improving, and all of that good stuff. Marketing can be alive. It just needs you to tend it. Start small, pick one thing that's been running on autopilot and give it some love and attention. And, you don't have to overhaul everything at once. Just start small and grow from there. And the compound interest, or the snowball effect, will start to happen, and you'll see it, and that will energize you. If this episode has resonated, I would love it if you would share it with someone who might have been chasing silver bullets. I see it all the time. I know you guys are out there. I know we all know someone who's acted in that way and then wondered why it didn't work. So maybe this is the message that they need to hear. But until next time, I'm Kath Langman, reminding that there is no silver bullet, but there is something better, a marketing system that you understand, maintain, and evolve. That's not a shortcut, but that is a real business. Bye for now.